pineapple stem, but still. All right. Anyway, is Quick and AOS your fantasy character? He's fantasy. He's a fantasy character. All right, we're not gonna waste a lot of time. We're just gonna get into this. Also, hello and welcome to the stream. Vegvis here, Fingolian, Living Legend, Spoonbleeder 98, Mafia Solaire, Fargo Netherravine, Magi, Sithis Pride, Server of the Great Horn Rat, Jaka Diego, Pearls 28, Shoulder 9000, Defsa, Lord Inquisitor Ignis, Gothic Spike, Hawk Godlies, Holy Artist 95, Smoghog, CS. Good to see you all. Lord Inquisitor Ignis, I'm going to return your points to you because this isn't like an actual thing from the lore. This is a character from the mod. It's one of the legendary lores you can get, and this is Kroll, the mother of monsters, who is a gigantic bog octopus monster thing, and it's one of the lords for the Fimir faction, which I did add. I added the Fimir faction mod to the mod list. So if you are watching me play this mod and you go, wow, this looks really good or really bad, well, really good, I assume, and you're like, because why would you care if you didn't think it looked good, and you're like, I would like to very much to play this mod, then you can scroll down and find the link, do that. How's the puppy doing? She's doing good. She's doing good. She's adjusting really well. I think she's really coming out of her shell in a lot of ways, which is very exciting. Like she's really starting to play a lot more, and is like learning how to play really well, which is fantastic. You know, teaching a dog to play when they're like kind of new to the home is always a little bit of a challenge because I think they have kind of a hard time differentiating between like, oh, are we playing or am I in trouble? You know, stuff like that. So she seems to be really adjusting well. We're still having like, you know, she's still kind of going through a couple little puppy things. Like sometimes she has a little bit, you know, she has a lot of energy, so I'm trying to do what I can when I can to burn off a lot of that energy by taking her on like long walks and like playing with her a lot and all this other stuff. And we're also kind of working on training, but training, we still have a long way to go when it comes to training. How old is she? Sadie is we think she's a little over a year old, and she's really good with other dogs. Before I picked her up, she was actually living with in a house with quite a few other dogs, so she seems pretty used to them, and doesn't seem to mind sharing space with them at all. Like she literally was living with like 3 German Shepherds and some other dog. So from what I've heard, and she seems very, very eager to play with other dogs. I'm really wanting to take her to a dog park, but I can't yet until she gets her flu booster, because in this part of Texas there's a pretty bad there's a lot of dog flu going around right now. So obviously I don't want to potentially put her in a situation that's gonna be likely to get her ill. You know, I've never had a dog that's gotten dog flu because most of my dogs have been not the most social, but I have no interest in ever seeing one of my sweet pups get dog flu. So
Joins the red host. Cursed Sotek spawn.
Will the Fimir playthrough be on your VOD channel?
yes, I'm going to upload the entirety of the Fimir playthrough, both campaigns that we did. The one that for some reason like deleted itself, and this one which we will be finishing today, and the entire thing will be up there.
Holy Artist 95 tuned. X100. Hey Sotek, I haven't caught a stream in a while. How you doing and how's the staying healthy going? Also, Sadie as a cutie, do you know what breed she is?
Yes, for the most part at least. First of all, yes, health is going a lot better. Feeling a lot better. Things have been much improved. You know, I'm having a really good time, and I'm continuing to have pretty good success at like my new diet. My weight has kind of plateaued a little bit at the moment, but that's okay. That's not unexpected, especially because it's so cold. So like I'm not really able to get out and run as much because it is fucking freezing right now. So, you know, I'm not super interested in going out at all for any reason if I don't absolutely have to. Like I took Sadie for a walk this morning, and we went on a considerably shorter walk than we normally do, because I mean it's so cold that like it burns to be outside. So you know that's no bueno. Tomato, thanks so much for the 10 months. And Kato's Barn, by the way, thank you so much for the 6 months. And thank you, Holy Artist, for the bits. I really appreciate the support, my dudes. Okay, we're gonna use this to give ourselves a bit of a speed boost. Our tentacle god is doing an excellent job, just killing absolutely everything. Support the mother! Hey, Winterfed, thanks so much for the 21 months. Good lord, that's quite a long time. Thank you very much for the 21 months. I really appreciate it. How you doing?
Peasant! Peasant!
Why are y'all peasanting me? What have I done to deserve this? Why are you being mean? Have I not been a good lore master? Another whoa! On a scale of 1 to 10, how good do I find the mod? From like a fun enjoyment perspective, I would probably say like a 7. Like it's, which is like, I think that's pretty good. Like if I said a 10, I would be like, this is like fucking amazing. Like you can't play without it. To me, and like a 6 or 7 is like, that's pretty good. So I'd probably put it like a 6, 6.5, 7, somewhere in that ballpark. It's pretty fun and enjoyable. It doesn't really do anything that's like wildly exciting. From a lore standpoint, I would definitely give it more like a 2. Or like just I would not give it a good rating lore wise. It's pretty terrible from a lore perspective. But that's okay. Like I don't think the goal was to make a lore accurate Fimir mod. I think it was to make a fun mod based on a non-lore accurate source, which is totally fine. But and from a like balance perspective, I'd probably put it like a 5. Like some aspects of the factions seem pretty well done and pretty well balanced, but some of it, there are definitely some abilities and powers that are like hilariously overpowered, and like have a lot of like, oh, this is cool, like, you know, cool factor, but that's it. Lady, hey, come here. Hey. Oh, hey. Come here. Lady, here. Ah, man. Ah. I'll leave you to it. What would I consider the worst lore of the mod? Dude, I don't even know what to... it would be far easier for me to tell you what little they got right, as opposed to everything they got wrong. Critical Mass, Underling, Shirjir Jin, Lally57, Ika Tauka. Good to see you all with the stream. I could get up and get it from her to move her closer, but I don't think that's worth the effort, and she seems happy, so We're not gonna bother. I'm wondering if she doesn't like this bed as much. Like she uses it sometimes, but other times she wants to chill on the floor. I haven't quite figured that out yet. I don't know how many slaves I have. I don't think I need a ton more. Wow, that is a lot of healing though. Animal and slave. Okay, I did need a pretty healthy chunk of them. Goddard's demon fiends. Okay, let's do... I like devoted because the more experience we can get, the better. Nice, we have an immortal hero. Why don't you do Fog of the Damned. And that's really good because now we can finally crush Norska fully. Oh, Talisman of Preservation. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. A squid with a ward save? Sign me the hell up. Oh wow, that's really expensive upkeep. I'll just take skinned swamp scorpions. Okay, so let me get caught up with everything. Name a unit Waluigi, you got it. Who's a good Waluigi unit? How about this bog octopus? He'll be perfect. Waluigi. What was Ulrika Magdova's story after she was told? Could she be a legendary lord for Kislev in the future as a Kislev undead hybrid? Yeah, she could. So, after everything that happened in the Gotrek and Felix like storyline, basically what happened to Ulrika was that if I haven't read her trilogy, I have it sitting on my shelf, but I haven't gotten around to reading it yet. If I could recall correctly, well, we know a lot of what happened to her based on what she tells us in Gotrek and Felix, but she obviously has her own novels as well. But she basically traveled mainly between the Empire and Kislev, working on some personal quests, but she also worked hand in hand with some Lamians for a long time, because after she was turned, the Lamians are the ones that actually took her in. So like gave her a home and taught her how to control her power so that she wouldn't be a danger to herself and others, and she could like control her urges and like start to learn to control all of the powers of vampirism and all this stuff. So she actually ended up staying with the Lamians for a long time out of, I think she was staying with the Lamians out of Altdorf, if I recall correctly. It was either out of Altdorf or out of Nuln. Or maybe, I can't remember what city she was based out of. But she did that for a while, and then she kind of ran around just going on a lot of personal quests relating to either trying to defend her homeland or work alongside particular allies and yada yada yada. But that is until eventually we do see that in the end times she actually gets recruited by and ends up serving under Vlad von Karstein as one of his as essentially like a knight of his, because Vlad basically has a very elite bodyguard of mounted vampires that serve him while he's fighting in the Northern Empire against the invasions of chaos. And while he's doing all that, Ulrika like is one of those knights that like fights with / for him, until she eventually leaves to go help Gotrek and Felix during the events of Kinslayer. Nice. Good job. Happy proud.
Pearls 28 cheered. X1000. Based off what you said about the Fimir, if you've played the Albion mod at all, how would you rate it from a lore perspective? I was under the impression the OVN mods were supposed to be fairly accurate to the lore.
Okay, so two things to say to that. Number one, I say this with absolute love, but in my experience, the vast majority of the mods that say they're accurate to the lore are anything but, or what they interpret as being the lore is like, you know, it's kind of a far cry from, like, so like in this case, right? Let's take this Fimir mod. This mod is not at all like accurate to any of the lore, like any of the actual lore. However, someone in chat pointed out, and I believe this is accurate, that this mod is likely ripped straight from the wait, what units did I lose earlier? That doesn't matter. Oh, I think I lost my Boglars. That's what it was. This mod likely ripped pretty much everything from the Lost Armies project, which the Warhammer Armies project was entirely fan made, but the guy who made it did a very, 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 very good job of making everything he made look very official. So a lot of people who don't know the lore or who don't understand what the Warhammer Armies project is find that website and they find the fan books and they think to themselves, oh my god, this is so convenient, like I have now found all of these like actual books, and like they have all this cool artwork and all these cool stories, and like all this lore and everything. So, you know, I'll do this, and without realizing that it's complete hogwash, because it's so like, it's such quality material. The stories in the vast majority of cases are not quality material, not like bad writing wise, but like there's no nothing that happens in them is really supported by like the main lore. It's basically just a really well made fan fiction, which is fine, but you know, I find it frustrating at times when people are confused by it, because obviously, you know, there are people that will take that as fact. Like I don't know how many times I've I cannot tell you how many times I've been making like a Q&A video or something, and I won't talk about, or like someone will show up in the comment section and be like, man, I thought you were supposed to be like a lore master who actually knows his stuff, but you didn't even talk about this thing. Or what about this thing? Like, why didn't you talk about it? And the whole thing that they think is real is literally just a Warhammer Fantasy Armies project thing. And it's like, oh my god. So like, even though they're a lot of fun and they're a great exercise in like fan fiction, I have come to like dislike them because they're so convincing that they've basically like tricked large amounts of people into believing they're something that they are not. And I'm just like, ugh. That's just me being a grumpy old man. That being said, I have not played the Albion mod yet. I actually would be fine spending a decent amount of time working my way through a lot of the OVN faction mods, though I don't want to do them back to back to back to back. I want to like check out other things as well, and also still enjoy non-modded campaigns because I am extremely fond of playing the game without mods. But I would be happy to get around to that because I know that's one that people ask a lot about. But could Ulrika, so to get back to Neratio's question, could Ulrika appear as a legendary lord for Kislev as an Kislev undead hybrid? Yes, she absolutely could. I don't expect that to happen. I would prefer to, I don't know what would be the best way to do that, to be honest. Like, a part of me thinks that she should have the Gotrek and Felix treatment and be more like a character that you can recruit, or like a really powerful hero you can get who is available to the factions that she was like willing to work with. Like how, because I mean, I guess it makes sense. You're a giant kraken, so why would you need a ship? You just like you're a kraken, just float. But it's still kind of funny looking. But in any event, I would like I think I would prefer to see her as more of like a hero that's available to like the Empire, the vampire counts, and maybe like and Kislev. You know, I think that would probably be a really cool mix. But you know, there's not a wrong answer. Dwarfs? No, the dwarfs do not like Ulrika. Like Gotrek does not like Ulrika. Like he tolerates her for Felix's sake, but if Felix was not there to explicitly beg him not to, Gotrek would kill Ulrika in a heartbeat. Because he would see it as putting it like out of her misery. Oh yeah, bonk. Oh, that jerk. She attacked the settlement, so I can't move away from it. What a jerk. Okay, so we gotta like blitz. Oh wait, no, I can't blitz that army because the army I'm defending with is not as good. Oh, I have unnatural fog up. Maybe I can blitz it? I feel like that's my only realistic way to win, because the army that's going to be showing up is not that great. Run before your reinforcements come in and the army will run. I can't run. It's a settlement. But maybe if our settlement army like loses too quickly and our reinforcements don't arrive, they'll be okay. Living Legend, what do you want your lore story to be on, dude? Also, Juan Setes, thanks so much for the 2 months. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the support. Thank you. Oh, just concede defeat? Okay, well, no, I'll send my my forces in here very aggressively. Because they all have Vanguard deployment, so we can get there in like 2 seconds. And I'd like to at least soften up the enemy a smidge. The hero looks cool. Why do Fimir only use blunt weapons? Generally speaking, the Fimir seem to have much more simple weaponry, because they are very not skilled at metalworking. Is my main understanding of it. Like, they're able to shape metal and stuff like that, but they don't seem particularly great at it. So it seems easier for them to go with like larger, bulkier weapons as opposed to more sharp, finessed weapons. You know, instead of having to make making a big bonk hammer is probably considerably easier than making a really nice, lithe, stabby sword. I hope y'all enjoyed the highbrow language I used to describe that. Well, at least kill the bolt thrower. That being said, the other big thing about Fimir is all Fimir weaponry. This mod doesn't do this, but all Fimir weaponry, Fimir enchant all of their weapons with like cursed runes. And because they're so big about using cursed runes on all of their weaponry, I think they also tend to vastly prefer working with equipment that allows them to do that much easier. Like if they work with like a thin weapon like a sword or like something that's a lot thinner and not as hardy, it seems that it's much more difficult for the Fimir to put their enchantments on it. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and flee from the battlefield right about now. You want to start on Ludwig Schwarzhelm? Okay, cool. They aren't very dexterous with their hands. That also seems very likely. Okay, good. They did get away. We took losses somehow, but we did escape. Get out of here, big guy. Any idea why the Chaos Gods abandoned the Fimir? Because the Fimir had nothing more to offer them. You have to remember, the Dark Gods do not give a shit about strength. Strength is meaningless to them. They are omnipotent. They are basically omnipotent beings that are, you know, all powerful. And to them, how strong you are has very little meaning or bearing on their own interaction with the world. What the Dark Gods really care about is they want the servants that have like the most strong souls, the servants that have the most interaction with the ether and whose worship will feed them the best. That's what they really care about. And humanity is beyond the best at that, because the big things are that humans multiply a lot. Humans, you know, they propagate like crazy. They're like, you know, they're like compared to many of the elder races, they breed exceptionally fast. Another thing about humanity is just like unmatched when it comes to their ability to adapt. They are one of the most adaptable species in the Warhammer world that the gods could reliably convince to serve them. You know, I would definitely say that greenskins are more adaptable than humans, but greenskins are also a no-go for the Dark Gods, because the greenskins are amusingly loyal to their own deities, being Gork and Morg. Or in the case of the Forest Goblins, the Spider God. So, because you have all these interactions, humanity is kind of in this perfect position where it has the most potential and the most to offer while still being vulnerable to chaos. That is a terrifying giant eyeball, Jesus. Another interesting note is that most of the races in the world made what we would call like a bad deal or a bad bargain. Like the dragon ogres and the Fimir, their bargains with the Dark Gods were basically them giving everything, like basically handing over like the entire house of their species instead of you know, like dragging it out, so to speak. And because of that, the Dark Gods basically got everything they wanted, and there wasn't really anything else that they could offer the Dark Gods. So the Dark Gods lost interest. They became bored with them.
If you could add the Fimir as a race, what kind of things would you add to the game as in lore things / fun units? Also, the money from these bits have to go to Snack for Sadie.
Oh, dude, if you have any idea how much I've spent on these things. So this is actual moose antler and actual deer antler. These suckers are expensive. So yeah, don't you worry, that money goes straight into that dog. But in any event, I would not do a Fimir race mod ever, because I just don't think the Fimir have enough of like a broad there's not enough going on with the Fimir to justify making them into a race pack. It doesn't make sense. Wow, this place is fucked. Like, there is so much Slanesh corruption. Good lord. So I just wouldn't do it. Because I mean, to me, that would be like coming out and making like halflings into a standalone race. There's just not enough. Like, when you really look at it, there's just not nearly enough to justify making an entire standalone race out of it. Just the amount of stuff you would have to completely pull out of your butt would be obscene. I think keeping them as part of Norska is by far the most intelligent thing to do. Is like the best move for the faction, and for Norska, because that, like, granted, calling it Norska I feel like has always been kind of a bad decision. I feel like Norska should have been called like Tribes of Chaos, or something more along those lines, because that better represents what it is, where it's like a collection of creatures and humans that are not warriors of chaos, but they are still, you know, enslaved to the dark powers. But as far as what else would I want to add to the game in relation to Fimir, the big thing that I still want added to Fimir I want Munamem as Legendary Lord, the Fimir matriarch character from Cubicle 7. I want her in the game as quickly as possible. I would also very much like, and for her to get her own unique lore of magic, the lore of the lore of the Fen, or the lore of Miss, whichever one you want to call it, which has some really nice spells in it. I would also like to get a generic Fimir noble as a monster lord, like a generic lord, being the Fimir noble, and he brings, you know, he's your monstrous lord, so he has a lot of really good synergies with your skin wolves, your Fimir, your trolls and stuff like that. And then if they really wanted some extra points, I would honestly be fine with them getting the bog octopus. Granted, like, if they're gonna do the fish people, maybe that should be where the bog octopus goes. But like, it's, you know, it's a spooky swamp creature monster thing, so putting it with Norska, Norska would not be that bad, I think. Are all Fimir casters female? No. All Fimir, the only female Fimir are the matriarchs. Female Fimir are super rare. And the matriarchs are the only ones. So, but the Dyrax are male sorcerers, which are the hero sorcerers that you see in Norska's current roster. Hopefully Tentacle God Bro here can beat Morathy. We do have a lot of regen thanks to one of our special rules, so that's good. That's a cute dog. She is a cute dog. Hopefully she's behaving and being just a little goober over there. All right, send in the Boglars. We'll cover them in fog. More spirit leeches on Morathi. All right, we're just gonna start depleting ammo where we can. Get into them. Let's start shutting down all this shooting, boys.
Can't hear us. Can't hear us. Rough car.
Oh, I'm already out of magic. Sucks. I don't know why the winds have been so bad down here. Alright, big monster's dead. Alright, Marathi's out of here, at least for now. Good news is all of our octopi are doing excellent damage against the enemy. Little big story? Yeah, we'll do it after this fight. Bring it down! Bring it down! Next up is the... Oh god, there's multiple Charybdii. How wonderful.
Where's me master? Take it all. Spare us.
And you can stay over there, it's fine. Keep fighting! Keep fighting!
This one's a biggie. Try it. Costler. They're good. Say
Okay, that's another Charybdis dead.
their power.
There's only one Charybdis left.
Say.
At least in this army. There might be more later, but... Alright, let's get back here and take out all these ranged units. Once all the ranged units are gone, I think we'll be just...
Good Warman. Glorious carnage. Quill.
Alright, all the Charybdii are gone. We're slowly getting rid of all their ammo. Was that army losses? Good. Good. Yes! Kroll will eat well this day. Good tentacle monster.
Harski Davos. Ravka. Quo. Fuizra chaos. Ba. Sawushra. Sawushra.
Lovely. Murlocs United.
Holy Artist 95 cheered. X100. And here I though Marathi would like a tentacle monster XD wink wink.
Nah, you know Marathi's definitely one of those people who is just way too obsessed with being the one in control. Like, if she's not in the domineering position, it's like suddenly it's not good for her anymore, regardless of how pleasurable it actually is. I mean, come on. She gives off those vibes big time. She doesn't like Kroll pulling the switch card. Yeah, I can use more minions for more money. All right, so Ludwig Schwarzhelm. Very nice, very nice. All right, now we're getting Warrior Cast, which will give us some pretty nice upkeep production. Nice. Good job. I'll let him come in. Here, we'll come in and I'll wrap all this mess up. Holy sweet mother of shit. Jesus Christ. Dude, holy artist. Holy shit. More like, thank you. God damn. 20 gift subs. Jesus. Thank you, dude. I really appreciate that. Oh my God. That is super generous. Thank you. If anyone in chat got a sub, make sure to thank him. My God, dude. Damn. Yeah, no, I would be happy to give you like full body Fimir lore. Jesus. All right. Give me just, hold on, let me, all right, that fried my brain for half a second. Jesus, man, thank you. Okay, let me, okay, let me do all this real quick. God damn, dude. That was very, very nice. Port Reaver. Yeah, I'm kind of fine with Port Reaver where it is. All right, so let's do just finished Vampire Slayer and started Giant Slayer. I love Vampire Slayer, and the Texas prologue and Giant Slayer was awesome. Yeah, they're great, dude. Super awesome set of books. And man, Giant Slayer is a trip in like the best way. Like, it's so good. It'll be Christmas soon. Yes, that's very true. It is coming up. All right, let's talk Ludwig Schwarzhelm for a hot minute. Ludwig Schwarzhelm, the Emperor's champion. Ludwig Schwarzhelm is the champion of Karl Franz and the bearer of the Emperor's personal standard. Ludwig is a towering figure of a man, renowned through the Empire for his mighty physique, stern expression, and deadly martial skill. The Emperor's champion is said to have never smiled in his life, and this reputation as an uncompromising, incorruptible warrior is one Ludwig has consciously cultivated over the years. His role is to uphold the Emperor's justice during trials of combat, which are the judicial right of the high-ranking nobles accused of breaking one of the Emperor's laws. Such is Ludwig's deadly reputation that many a noble so accused has confessed their guilt before a sword has even been lifted. Ludwig is also Karl Franz's principal bodyguard, and his mere presence has so far proven enough to discourage any attempts on the Emperor's life. In addition to his formidable skills as a master swordsman, Ludwig also acts as a potent reminder of the Emperor's authority, traveling to various provincial capitals to ensure that imperial edicts are being obeyed. Karl Franz has an unyielding sense of fairness and honor, and he does not look kindly upon those lords who flaunt their wealth whilst their populace languishes in abject poverty. The arrival of Ludwig Schwarzhelm at the gates of an Elector Count's castle is greeted with some trepidation, even amongst those loyal to the Emperor. For Schwarzhelm is notoriously inflexible and critical of those he perceives as lacking strong moral fiber and faith. On one occasion, Ludwig was forced to fight for his life after unmasking a chaos cult hidden at the very heart of the von Rauken family of Ostland. However, as dawn broke the following morning, it was the Emperor's champion who marched alone, but victorious from the castle, his armor rent and battered and his sword dripping with blood. When the Emperor travels his lands, it is with the unsmiling Ludwig Schwarzhelm at his side, and Karl Franz's diplomatic words are backed up by the silent yet ever-present threat of his champion's keen blade. In battle, the Emperor's champion rallies the Empire army to Karl Franz's banner, and takes on the role of bodyguard, saving his liege lord's life many times. And of his two items we'll talk about for a moment, there is the Sword of Justice. The Sword of Justice has been passed down from champion to champion through the reigns of successive emperors. It is a magical weapon studded with ancient dwarven runes of vengeance and retribution. And then the Emperor's Standard. Ludwig Schwarzhelm is entrusted to carry one of the Emperor's personal banners. This magnificent standard has been wrought with subtle magic, so that the hearts of all true soldiers of the Empire who gaze upon it are filled with courage. Rigaldo, good to see you. Thanks so much for popping by. But if we turn back to the timeline, we can also catch a couple little extra tidbits about him. Let's see. I know it's in here. Oh no, it doesn't show up in here. So really important thing about Ludwig Schwarzhelm is he actually played a very dramatic role in what happened to Averland after the death of Marius Leitdorf. So Marius Leitdorf was the Elector Count of Averland, also known as the Mad Count, because he was very eccentric. He was a pretty interesting guy, and he was often pretty difficult to deal with. But something that was kind of interesting is that while most people hated him or viewed him as like just a waste of space or a huge pain in the ass or whatever, Karl Franz actually liked Ludwig quite a bit. And the reason Karl Franz was so fond of him is that Karl Franz knew that Ludwig was an incredibly faithful servant of the Empire. He knew that Ludwig, despite his eccentricities, whatever, he was like genuinely one of the most faithful and reliable servants to be found in the entirety of the Empire, which is something that Karl Franz was keenly aware of. But Ludwig Schwarzhelm also had an interesting relationship with him, which is that Ludwig Schwarzhelm kind of hated him a little bit. Like, he didn't truly hate him, but he did find him very frustrating. Mainly because whenever Marius would start to kind of go crazy a little bit or start making too much of a fuss or whatever, it was inevitably always kind of Ludwig's job to ride down to Averland and sort out the Mad Count. Like, get down there and be like, hey man, like, come on, behave yourself, like, stop being a weirdo or whatever it is you're doing, and, you know, do your job. You know, let's get things done and move along. So he had kind of a, you know, there was kind of a lot of back and forth and stuff, but there ended up being a terrible plot by the followers of Slaanesh. A cult of Slaanesh actually made kind of a power play to try and seize control of Averland by putting someone sympathetic with them or someone under their control in the position of Averland's new Elector Count, because they needed a new Elector Count with Marius's death, because Marius died at the Battle of Blackfire Pass. So Karl Franz wisely decides to send Ludwig Schwarzhelm to Averland to oversee everything that's going on, because he quickly realizes that something's kind of amiss. But well, Marius, so the thing about Marius is, although he's known as the Mad Count, he wasn't, how do I say this? He wasn't like completely insane. He was more just extremely eccentric, which caused a lot of people to view him as being insane. And to be fair, his eccentricities could get him in quite a bit of trouble. Like, it's not an exaggeration that Daisy, his horse, he spoke to Daisy and considered her one of his most valuable advisors, despite the fact that, you know, it's a horse that does not speak. But the thing about him was that he was a genius. like Marius Leitdorf undeniably was an absolute genius. He was a very accomplished engineer. He was extremely intelligent when it came to tactics and like controlling or manipulating the battlefield. He was very, very clever. However, he certainly had problems as far as like being fully aware of like reality and stuff like that. And because of his eccentric nature, he got into a lot of tiffs with other very powerful individuals that caused a lot of problems. Yes, he actually was very good at your mom jokes. Not even kidding. But Marius Leitdorf ended up dealing with that and had to end up he faced off against the Slanesh cult. This actually led to a schism between him and Kurt Helborg due to the manipulations of the cult, and led to the two of them having a very, very nasty battle. But Marius Leitdorf did eventually come out on top. But that entire story is contained within omnibus you can pick up by Chris Wright called The Swords of the Emperor. It is incredible. It is incredible. It's a great book. You get to actually see Karl Franz in it, which is a ton of fun, and you get to like understand a lot of things in the Empire that are normally not really talked about, because the vast majority of books tend to focus on be focused on other aspects of the Empire, not like the politically powerful characters. But it does a really good job of presenting like the threats of the Chaos Cults. It does a really good job of showing like what kind of man Karl Franz is and all the other stuff. But yeah, Regaldo 88, good to see you. Murlocs United. I think I'm gonna name a unit of swamp demons that when we get some, because they are very Murloc looking. And then the Amphibian Liberation Front. Yeah, the Fianna Fim, that'll be perfect. Okay, I ran out of letters, so we'll just do the Amphibian Liberation. We'll have to suffice. All right, I'll let him deal with Iron Spike. Well, actually, Iron Spike. Oh, okay, that all kind of combines up that way. Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna go for Petrified Forest. Does Karl Franz knows about the Skaven? Oh yeah, he does. Yeah, Karl Franz is, you know, he's the Emperor. He's he is the absolute height of authority within the Empire, and knows the vast majority of its dirty secrets. He knows about the Skaven. Has Marius killed a lot of vampires in his time? Leitdorf? He probably killed a few. I don't know precisely how many he's killed, if any specifically. It's likely he's fought and killed some. But Marius Leitdorf was a hell of a duelist. He was considered one of the greatest fencers in the Empire. Like he very much specialized in he fought with usually a rapier or sword, and then a fencing dagger in his other hand. And he was very successful at like using those weapons to devastating effect, which is actually really cool, because most of the Elector counts tend to wield more typical weapons, but Marius would wield his Runefang in one hand, and then he would hold like a smaller sword or a short sword or a fencing dagger in his offhand. And use that to fight. So he had a very unique fighting style among the Elector counts. Has Ludwig killed a lot? Ludwig has killed many things. Ludwig has killed massive amounts. I mean, he's the Emperor's personal champion, so literally anybody that tries to like challenge Karl Franz, and he's also his personal bodyguard, so anytime anyone's ever tried to assassinate the Emperor, it's usually Schwarzhelm that like gets between them. Has he killed a lot of vampires? I don't know if there's really a definitive way to answer that, unfortunately. I imagine he's killed some, but to like claim that there's a specific number would be inaccurate, because we don't have any specific stories. I would say it's likely he's killed a decent number of them, but we don't have any specific information about like how many he killed or any specific names or anything like that. Yeah, so the Fimir. Okay, Dragon Legend X, welcome to the stream. Good to see you. So what was your, okay, remind me, what was your specific question about the Fimir, my dude? Untamed monstrosities, warrior. Oh, that's right. This comes at like an upside and a downside. Murlocs United. The general lore of the Fimir and their life. Okay, so yeah, so God, so general things about the Fimir. So the Fimir are, they are a very ancient race that have they're a primordial species. So a primordial species are those races in Warhammer Fantasy that have always been here, as far as we know. Like, they have been here since before the old ones, and when the old ones arrived on the planet and started like clearing out quote unquote the undesirables, so basically getting rid of all of the different creatures and species they didn't like, the Fimir were A, definitely on that list, and B, likely suffered terribly at the old ones' hands. So the Fimir, based on the knowledge we have of them, they tend to, or they prefer living in swamps and cold mires and fens. So they really like foggy, dense swamp environments that tend to be very cold. So they're not like Florida alligator swamp stuff. They're more like you know, the bogs and spooky wetlands of like Ireland, or like very northern Europe, or the islands, or Canada and stuff like that. So they really prefer much colder environments. That being said, they are native to the old world, so they lived especially the wastelands around Marienburg was like their primary, that was the place where they like were most centrally located, was that they lived here in what's known as the wasteland, because the wasteland is just full of cold mires. So they primarily lived here, a fair bit into the Misty Hills. Also, quite a few of them lived along the River Reich as we know it now. So they were native to Reichland, the marches of Claron. And then there are also quite a few records detailing that they are native to like Noblar country. So these more swampy areas just north of the Sea of Dread. But they were a fairly dominant species in those environments. There were very few of like the big large creatures that were able to come into their environment and defeat them. So they did really well for themselves for a really long time. But then the old ones came. And when the old ones came, they started, you know, purging everything they didn't like. And the Fimir were driven deeper into these cold, miserable environments. And they were able to utilize their natural affinity for these places in order to give themselves, in order to hide away and to conceal themselves from the old ones and the lizardmen. So they could at least survive. You know, they weren't thriving and they were very angry and unhappy, but they were at least, you know, surviving. So this eventually led to when Chaos showed up. So when the Dark Gods of Chaos appeared and like exploded their way onto the world and demons started manifesting and all this stuff, the Fimir did not do what you know, the races of order did, which was like fight as hard as they could against them and all this other stuff. Instead, the Fimir approached the demons and were willing to make bargains with them. They were willing to offer they learned various rites and rituals to communicate with demons, and they also learned how to summon them and to bind them. She's retreating. Hey, come here. Up. Oh, big stretch. Like, look, I moved, I got up, I acknowledged you, I stretched. That's what you get today. That's what you get today. Be thankful. Be thankful for what little you have received. For those of you aware, Sadie she's still learning a lot of things. Like, I don't think she really knows what her name means yet. So like, there's, you know, work in progress. But in any event, so when the Dark Gods arrived, the Fimir are to what knowledge we have, the Fimir are either the earliest or one of the earliest races that embraced demonology. So the understanding of, oh, trade agreement with the elves? Yeah, sure, I'm down. How old is she? Exclamation mark dog for more info. But she is a 1-year-old Great Pyrenees mix. So when the Dark Gods arrived, the Fimir started like making all these, like reaching out to the powers of darkness, making pacts with demons in exchange for power, sorcery, immortality, and all sorts of other stuff. And this led to the Fimir growing significantly in power, and they started to dominate the old world. They started to push back any of the other races that had lived there. They started enslaving humans and taking them as sacrifices to these these terrible gods and demons and all sorts of other stuff. So they were making a pretty big ruckus, and were being rather unpleasant, one might say, to many of the various forces that lived in that area, and they started building this great empire, especially around the wastelands. But then the vortex was summoned and the demons of chaos were defeated. Now, for the Fimir, this wasn't too big of a deal. Like, chaos losing was not necessarily ideal for them, but it also wasn't bad for them. You know, they were able to sweep in even more and start taking over all the territory that had belonged to, like, Bellicor and all of the other demon princes or greater demons who had tried to start setting up empires in the mortal world instead of only focusing on conquering and slaughter. So the Fimir built up a massive empire, mostly centered around the wastes and the rivers, and they were completely dominant, with the Fimir controlling basically all of the cold mires, the fens and the swamps and marshes, and then the beastmen controlled all of the beastmen controlled the forests, and much of the wastes fell to other monstrosities, but the Fimir enjoyed being dominant for many years, decades, if not centuries, of being the undisputed masters of that terrain. And then the elves showed up. So after the elves had summoned the vortex and they had survived, they began to rebuild in Ulthuan, and it didn't take them a terribly long time to get like really nicely fully established. And once the elves were comfortable, the elves, of course, they're rather famous for their wanderlust, decided that they wanted to go out and explore this new world. So they did, and they discovered the old world, and they started setting up colonies, and quickly bumped into none other than the Fimir. And a great series of wars broke out between the Fimir and the elves. And the Fimir were mighty. They were mighty indeed, but they did not stand a chance against the elves, who were nearing the height of their strength and had learned much after their battles against the demons. And especially because the Fimir relied on demons. Oh, she's out of camera view? All right, thanks. Because they had relied so much on demons, as far as like they would summon demons to teach them magic, they would summon demons to fight for them, they would summon demons to like teach them various rituals of empowerment, all this stuff. Much of the strengths of the Fimir were things that the elves were already familiar with, things that the elves already knew how to deal with. And while the Fimir matriarchs were very, very powerful sorcerers and powerful shamans, being more shamanistic wizards, so wizards that have more of like a natural feel for magic, and have less of like a very formal or studied understanding of it, going up against the archmages for the matriarchs was not a fun time. It was not a good time. So they were completely crushed and basically were forced to fall back into the depths of the swamps, and they fell back to the absolute hearts of their empires, which are these massive black stone fortresses that are hidden deep in the cold mires and are constantly shrouded in a heavy, damp fog that basically saps the strength out of your body, and makes it's very, very difficult to be anywhere near them, and makes it nearly impossible to find these fortresses. And they basically went into hiding. Ah, this guy's kind of cool. The Demonomaniac. Wow. So it's a Fimir Gorgon demon thing. Fascinating. But and after that, once the Fimir basically kind of stayed out of sight and stayed out of mind until the elves left after the War of the Beard. And after the War of the Beard concluded, or the War of Vengeance, and the elves fled the old world, the Fimir swooped back in and started fighting for a lot of their old territory, but they quickly found themselves under attack and facing off against the newly rising nations of men that were appearing in the all over the place in the old world. And you can actually there's actually a really famous battle between a Fimir clan, including their matriarch, and none other than Sigmar Heldenhammer. If you actually read the Sigmar trilogy, in the first book, there is actually a full big showdown between Sigmar and a Fimir matriarch, and it's awesome. Where Sigmar basically shows up to help fight the Fimir, because the Fimir are attacking the tribe that would later down the line become Marienburg, because they attacked them and took some I think they took they took this woman that was super important. She was going to be sacrificed, but luckily for her, Sigmar and his allies showed up in time to help out. And as for Fimir society and all that kind of stuff, Fimir have a very interesting but fairly straightforward society. There are 4 castes of Fimir, and all Fimir are male, with the exception of the matriarch, which we'll get to in a second. So in the Fimir culture or society, or whatever you want to call it, there are different castes, and the different castes are you have the slave caste, which are known as Shurls, which are supposed to be oh, I actually don't have any Shurls in this army, but this mod makes them like way too small, because they're still Fimir, and Fimir are quite large creatures. But the Shurl are slaves. Like, they will never be more than slaves. They are born to be slaves. They are raised as slaves, and they will always be slaves. Never will they rise above that post. And they're very rarely are they used in battle. They virtually always serve instead as they tend to almost always serve as like the builders and like menial labor of the empire. Not, you know, it's very unusual to see them in a on a battlefield, though. If the Fimir army was being, or if the Fimir settlement was being attacked, obviously they would probably be out there fighting. And I'm sure if Fimir like ever got a bigger focus as a potential army, they would definitely look to there as a likely expansion route. The next highest class are the Fem, which the Fem are the Fimir that you're familiar with. They are the regular Fimir. So they're the warrior class, the warrior caste. And what separates them from the Shurls is that Fem have the Fem class they have like the really hunched backs. So they have that big like bony plate on their backs that provides them some additional armor. And they also have big bone clubs on the edge of their tails that they use to, you know, like tear people up or slam, to like impale people or smash people into the dirt and kill them and all the other stuff. So they use those, they use their tails to great effect in combat. But they're like the warrior caste. And the mightiest among the Fem are the Fimir nobles, which the Fimir nobles are the oldest and most skilled warriors among the Fimir. Then you have the next caste up, which are the Dyraks, and the Dyraks are the male sorcerers. So they are Fimir who have demonstrated the ability to utilize magic and sorcery, and they often serve the matriarchs more directly, and are responsible for a significant amount of making sure like all of the rituals are going well and like performing sacrifice. Yeah, the Bale Fiends. Yes, the Bale Fiends. And so they have a lot of responsibilities that they observe and take care of, and they keep busy. Come over here. Goodness, you have torn this thing. Head. Huh, Sadie. Sorry, whenever you hear a new puppy, you hear them like doing, but you can't see them. Just like what are you doing? What do you got? Oh well. What are you doing, Goober? Fine. I had to make sure she didn't have something she wasn't supposed to have. But anyway, so and then so yeah, the Direct of the Bale Fiends, and then the final cast are Fimir matriarchs. And Fimir matriarchs are the only females in the they're the only females in the Fimir clan, and they are incredibly powerful wizards, and they also they're huge. They're very, very big. They're large and in charge, and they're more like what a dragon ogre is to a dragon ogre Shaggoth is essentially a regular Fimir to a Fimir matriarch. Like, they're big, and they're very powerful sorcerers. And as far as like the construction of their society, there's only ever one. Every clan has a single matriarch. However, when a matriarch has a daughter, which is rare, but when a matriarch gives birth to a daughter, she will raise her daughter to be a new matriarch. And when her daughter has learned enough and is powerful enough, she will be sent away from the clan to go make, and with like a number of servants and warriors and stuff, and she will basically head off to go make her own clan, and to basically like build a new city or whatever you want to call it elsewhere. And that's a really important aspect. She's not allowed to stay. She has to leave, and basically go, you know, figure herself out. Now, if you can't tell, this obviously makes the Fimir very vulnerable to certain kinds of tactics. If a matriarch dies very suddenly, it can be really, really bad for a clan. Because if the matriarch dies, they basically have to go find a new matriarch, or else the clan is going to die out. Basic Fimir warrior versus a Zote, like in a fight, the Zote would almost assuredly win. Like they would, the Fimir would definitely put up a good fight, because Fimir tend to be like, it's an actual warrior, so they tend to be better trained, and be a little bit better like geared up for combats. However, a Zote is a wizard. Like, Zotes are fairly powerful life wizards and know so much about life magic that when a wood elf spellweaver wants to master the lore of life in Athel Loren, they often seek out the Zotes to teach them. Like, that's how fucking powerful they are when it comes to the lore of life magic. They seem like the most functional of the Chaos races. Oh, the Fimir? Well, you have to remember that the Fimir are kind of like the Chaos Dwarfs in that they already had a culture. They already had a culture. They already had like an organized society and all that stuff before Chaos showed up. Chaos, they basically just, all that happened when Chaos entered the equation is they basically started to worship these entities and adapted new rules and laws into their culture in order to work with or satiate these new entities. But they didn't really like, they already had a lot of their a lot of the things that make the Fimir were already things they were doing before they sold themselves to Chaos. So that likely plays very heavily into that. Does the matriarch have a dedicated mate or husband? No. It's not exactly clear what their mating strategy is, but we know they do not have a dedicated partner. There is no one that is like equal to the matriarch. The matriarch is purely the ruler of the clan, and it's likely that she has some basis by which she selects mates to make sure that future generations of Fimir are as powerful and survivable as they can possibly be. Let's get up to Master of Mist so I can have a really, really powerful army ability. Who is way more powerful, a demon prince or a greater demon? It seems to me that demon princes as a human ascended to demonhood, whereas a greater demon is that way organically, therefore they must be stronger naturally. It depends on a lot. So greater demons and demon princes are kind of like Grail Knights or vampires, right? In that there is such a broad spectrum of power level to them that it's not even funny. Like, there are some greater demons that are pretty strong, but like, you know, there are certain, they're not like anything that's gonna absolutely completely rewrite the way the world, like, how do I say this? They are powerful entities on a battlefield, but they're not out there like single-handedly taking on armies. And then you have like Scarbrand. So what I would say to that is, generally speaking, demon princes tend to be more powerful than greater demons. As demon princes often ascend to the rank of demonhood through, you know, they garner a significant amount of favor from the dark gods, and as they arrive to demonhood proper, during that time usually they will end up ascending with a significant number of magical artifacts and powers that they acquired while they were human. And the other thing is that when greater demons are around, their power tends to fluctuate very heavily with the power of their god, and also due to what or how much their god favors them. So like Kugoth Plaguefather at times has been incredibly powerful, but there have also been times when Kugoth Plaguefather's power has like plummeted significantly, and he's been superseded by other Great Unclean Ones because he failed at a particular task, and as part of his punishment, he fell in Nurgle's favor and therefore lost power. But on the other hand, demon princes don't do that. Demon princes are consistently powerful and usually hover around the same level and are consistently very, very terrifying entities. And I would say that the most powerful of the demon princes, being Be'lakor, is far more dangerous to the world than the most powerful greater demons, being like Kairos, Nakari, Kugoth, and Scarbrand, at least during the Total War timeline. Demon princes, like if you were like, hey, I'm gonna give you a random list of demon princes and a random list of greater demons, and I want you to organize them from most to least powerful, more than likely, as I'm sorting through that list, I'm going to be putting the demon princes on the higher end of the list. Would Khorne forgive Scarbrand if Scarbrand told Khorne that I won't kill anyone unless you forgive me, father? No, because Scarbrand, well, first of all, Khorne is literally the embodiment of rage. He does not have a concept of forgiveness. That is not something that exists within him. It is a completely foreign concept to him, and he would never even consider it, because Khorne considering forgiveness would be like water considering fire. It's complete anathema to his to what he is as a deity slash entity. And furthermore, Scarbrand doesn't really have much of a personality left anymore. Like, for Total War, they kind of, you know, they boosted him up a little. Whenever he shows up in a narrative thing, they always give him a little bit more intelligence than he should probably actually have. But Scarbrand, like, is incapable of anything other than just being rage personified. That's all he is now. He's just angry. The idea Like, and you have to remember that Skarbrand is so focused on killing and slaughter, it's the only way he considers doing anything. So, like, when he got angry at Khorne for exiling him, and he raged against Khorne, the way he did it was by killing things that he thought Khorne, like, killing things that he identified as being allied to Khorne. So, focusing on, you know, he went around slaughtering anything that reminded him of his father. Which, you know, didn't work because even though he was killing like Khornate demons or Khornate mortals or whatever, Khornate worshippers, because he was killing them, especially through hatred and such over the top violence, instead of, you know, like actually doing any damage to Khorne, he was still empowering Khorne through that anger and rage. So Skarbrand would love to kill Valkia? Oh yeah. Yeah, Skarbrand would probably jump at that. Could Skarbrand become devoted to another god? No. Because Skarbrand is literally a piece of Khorne. He's not like an independent entity. All demons are literally just minute fragments broken off from their gods and kind of given their own sentience, essentially. But everything they do, whether they know it or not, empowers those who created them. Because that's all they truly are, is they are, you know, they are embodiments of their makers, so to speak. I'll have to recruit a lot of new units. Here, I'll run out here and just kill this lady. Did Skarbrand ever stand a chance against Khorne? No. Skarbrand trying to kill Khorne is like a man having a baby, like a man who is the most powerful, muscular man on earth having a baby, and the baby at like a month old uses all of its power and fury to strike its father to kill him. Like, it doesn't matter how angry the baby is. It's not going to happen. Like, the baby may give a noble effort, but it's still a god. If I recall correctly, Skarbrand literally jumped at Khorne and attacked him with literally everything he had. Like, held nothing back, unleashed his full fury and might, threw everything he had at Skarbrand, or at Khorne, and Skarbrand did it while Khorne was not paying attention, like was not looking at him. And all he managed to successfully do was put a tiny scratch on Khorne's armor. You know, that's not good. Oh god, why is the snow so bright? I need to get rid of all the archers and then I can deal with the horde. Oh, cool. I turned a unit into an octopus. Nice. I summoned a little baby. You like my little baby, chat? Isn't it cute? Don't like all. Good to see you. Thanks so much for the support, my dude.
Little baby.
Little baby. Little babby. Oh, good. Speed boost. Run faster, my minions. Oh, never mind. Mom's got it covered. Never mind. Good baby looks adorable. Yes, yes it does. Zinch horror game win? Dude, tell me about it. Warhammer has such an untapped horror market, dude. Like, it doesn't even matter which dark god it is. Any of the dark gods would make an amazing horror game. Khorne would be the most boring, but like Zinch, Nurgle, or Slaanesh would be so good for horror, like genre-wise. I have come for your city. It shall be mine.
Another wretched foul lizard thing joins the red host.
Yes.
Cursed Sotek spawn.
Finally subscribed. Most based Warhammer YouTuber less than 3.
Hey, Sister Alma, thanks so much for the super sweet words and for the 3 months. How you doing? Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing great.
Another wretched foul lizard thing joins the red host. Cursed Sotek spawn.
Sotnom, 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 Sotnom.
Yes, words of wisdom. Words of wisdom there. Greasus, thanks so much for the year of support. Oh my gosh, thank you, my dude. Great to see you. Thank you for the support. Hope you're doing great. You could get Knuckle of Eves now. Or Fianna Fim. Or more octopi. Actually, a Fog Shrine would be nice. We'll get a Fim Mistmore. And we'll get a Demonomaniac. What is a Mistmore? It's a unit of Drunken Fim. Tall as a troll and easily as strong, Mistmore are the prized defenders of Fimir settlements. They have Rowdy, so they're drunk. Interesting. I don't actually think I want that in this particular army. I think I'd rather get... Ooh, getting a lot of Bog Beast Riders would probably be good for this army. Hey, Schroeder! Thanks so much for the 5 gifted subs. Holy shit, dude. Thanks. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. It's super sweet of you. The cat went over the keyboard? What? If you got a sub, make sure to thank Schroeder, please. short victory complete. Neat. Oh, Schrodinger's cat. Oh, okay. You're being clever. I see. I'm still only tier 1. Only a trifling god right now. I need 5 or more temples to be a renegade god. This is what? This is our second temple. Oh no, so that okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 temples right now. So if I can get one built in either Skeggy or Tyrant Peak, we will evolve into a renegade god, which I would like to see. I'm in the natural fog. Who do I like the most of the minor chaos gods? The Greathorn Rat. Greathorn Rat is definitely my favorite of the minor chaos gods. I have a big soft spot in my heart for Skaven. Bronze Emperor, good to see you. Welcome to the stream. How you been? You know someone that dearly hopes Gark is the next free LC Lord? Oh, dude, I know several people who will not shut up about that. Who do I hope the free LC Lord is when the next DLC arrives? Gark Ironskin would make the most sense. Like, if it is Chaos Dwarfs, which I feel pretty confident that it is. You know, if they come out with the Chaos Dwarfs and they say, hey, like, we're gonna give Ogres a free LC Legendary Lord who has like a well-established relationship with Chaos Dwarfs, and also like doesn't really bring a ton of new, like really any new units with him, but he's just like a big badass that allows you to have like a kind of a different play style and have more like really good diplomacy with these new Chaos Dwarfs. That'd be badass. Who's Gark? Gark Ironskin is the big bad tyrant of the Ironskin tribe, which the Ironskin tribe are by far one of the most powerful of the ogre tribes. And what makes Gark very unique, so the Ironskin tribe is unique for a couple of reasons. One of the big things that's super important about the Ironskin tribe is that the Ironskin tribe is rather notorious for hating Noblars. They tend to rely on them much less frequently than most ogre tribes. And they also tend to treat their Noblars very, very poorly, and despise them, among other various issues. But they are also the tribe that invests the most heavily into black powder and other forms of, like, by ogre standards, technological advancement. So they tend to have, like, the most iron blasters, for instance. And one of the things that allows them to have like a shitload of iron blasters and a shitload of lead belchers is that they have a... Wait, what? I can't recruit Fem warriors? Range. But alright, I guess. One of the things that's so strange about them is that they or no, not strange. One of the things that's very important about them is that they trade very, very much with the oh, green screen got broken. Probably because of the... What are you doing? Wrap yourself. Here. Come here. What are you doing, Sadie girl? What are you doing, Sadie girl? Huh? What time is it, actually? Oh, it's your dinner time, ain't it?
Another wretched
Sorry, hun.
lizard thing joins the red host.
You just a sec, okay? Then I'll make you dinner.
Oh, it's also my 6 months, lol.
It's also your 6 month. Schroeder out here giving like gift subs when his needs. Thank you very much, Schroeder. Also, chat. Say hi to Sadie. You haven't met her yet. Who is that? Chat? Huh? Chat. How chat tries to watch you off to be a goober elsewhere. Ready to eat dinner? Ready to eat dinner? Can you explain to chat that they're gonna have to forgive me for calling the stream here? Oh, the wild hunt begins. Nice. All right, guys, that is gonna go ahead and be the end of this particular stream, and this is gonna be the end of our Fimir playthrough as well. Hey, you better not be doing something over there. But I actually really enjoyed it. Like, it was a lot of fun. I will make a video that'll go on the main channel, but the VODs and everything will go up on the secondary channel. Sorry, I'm just trying to keep an ear out for if she's getting into something. But yeah, this was a good time. I had a really good time with it. Did some more digging, and the lore for this mod is based on an old fan magazine called Warpstone, not the Warhammer Armies project. Okay, so it's, oh, okay, interesting. So it's still fan lore, but it's from something even older. Fascinating. But in any event, had a good time with this. It's very fun. It's a good time. Actually, wait, real quick, hold on. I'm gonna skip this turn because I want to see what happens when I become a level 2 god instead of a level 1 god. What are you doing over there? Katie? What are you doing, silly goose? What are you doing, silly goose? You being a hellion? Huh? You being a goober? You're like, I'm always a goober. I can't help not being a goober. Oh, we're still a trifling god? That's dumb. Oh, wait, I've got one more turn. No, I'm going. I'm going. I'm going. I'm going. Okay. Say, I want dinner, boy. Well, on the bright side, at least we got up a little later than we normally do this morning, so you shouldn't be, like, cripplingly hungry. What was that? All right, I'm coming. I'm coming. He's like, I'm gonna get so pissed. Hey, there we go. Where is it? Yeah, we're a renegade god now. Cool. I don't know which of these. Wait, which of these abilities is our? It says bonuses to our personal army, but I don't see. Huh. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I'm gonna peace out. I will be back probably in about 1 or 2 hours because I'm gonna go eat dinner after I give her dinner. And when I get back, why don't we play some Vermintide tonight, guys? Vermintide sound okay to y'all? Maybe Darktide, but probably Vermintide. In any event, I hope you all have a lovely evening. And I will see y'all next time. I'm going to find something for us to raid while I'm doing the outro. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.